With record-breaking heat waves, hurricanes, and droughts, it's clear that climate disaster is here now, and it may be too late to do anything to reverse it. That's why some innovators and scientists are trying to find ways to control the climate itself. Tonight, we'll look at some crazy ideas to control the weather. Deep Fat Fried.
Deep Fat Fried.
I say we fucking, when a hurricane's a-coming, we put all the fans all along the coast and blow that son of a bitch the other direction.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Why not?
Once again, to pull this from another episode, we could just crucify you on the coast and have you bloviate at the Gulf.
Blah, blah, blah. Fuck
Hurricane
you, you goddamn hurricane. Get out of here. Hurricane be like, ooh, going the other way. Or it would just feel like it would come to destroy me. Just be like, I got to kill that guy.
Well, you know, they say it's warm water that generates these hurricanes, TJ. Drop a giant block of ice into the Gulf or off the coast of Africa. Make sure that shit is nice and cool. Cool the water down. No hurricane.
Cool it on down.
Good point.
I mean, that's going to melt anyways, right? We got global warming going on. Might as well have it stop some
just
hurricanes.
grab a big chunk of the South Pole and bring it up there and drop it in the Gulf.
No more problem. Instead, we're boiling the Gulf with our weird bullshit.
So we're going to start with hurricanes. This is one aspect of climate change we're all intimately familiar with on the show, some more than others. Of course, I lived in Louisiana for a while. You guys were born and raised. Not born and raised, but raised anyway. The 2020 Atlantic hurricane season was so active, they had to resort to using letters of the Greek alphabet to name them. They ran out of their usual 21 alphabetical names. The only other time that was necessary was in 2005, the year of Katrina. That's why I got the hell out of Louisiana, because we were already on Hurricane Ada when I left. By the way, the World Meteorological Association decided that Greek letters won't be used again. It's created new lists with more supplemental names to choose from. Perhaps that's because no one understands the Greek alphabet, and Ada and Iota already had to be retired due to the amount of destruction they caused. So
yeah, I got you. So once a hurricane pretty much makes landfall and destroys a bunch of shit, they don't want to give another hurricane the same name.
And
they're not going to name another hurricane
because now
were the two
now it's
hurricanes
historically, you know.
Those were the back-to-backers that hit Lake Charles, basically.
Ooh. Yeah.
So what can we do? There'll certainly be more climate refugees like me leaving the South because they're sick of the hurricanes, but far more have stubborn roots in the area, and some would find it almost impossible to move. There's several wild-sounding ideas to stop hurricanes, so let's start with nukes. Now,
nuke that son of a bitch. Yes. Boom.
America wins.
And I know you're going to be sad about this one, TJ, in particular, because we recently had a conversation about this. A lot of people very mystified about Trump's suggestion to nuke hurricanes. But unfortunately, the idea was proposed by some people in the Pentagon during the World War II era.
A long time ago.
The report given to Trump evaluating nukes to stop hurricanes likely came from those Pentagon studies decades ago. Edward Teller, the father of the H-bomb, suggested more than once using a nuke to weaken hurricanes or keep them from forming. So
interesting.
That's kind of a shame. It wasn't just a total Trump bonehead thing. We actually spent government money to study if we should do it. So
yeah, if we nuke a hurricane,
maybe if we fucking nuke that son of a bitch, it'll solve the problem.
Even if let's say it was 100% effective and got rid of it, what about the fallout and all the damage it would do to the environment?
Nah.
It's not really. Yeah, it's like no, it doesn't make much sense.
You know what's Connie? You're done. Bye. Bye. You're done.
Okay, fine.
Sorry.
Fine. You're done. You're done. Slow down. We just got done doing the Tucker episode.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's been out yet, but
I'm still in Tucker mode.
He's kind of hard to fucking get out of your head once he's in there.
So Edward Teller said this at 82 at 82 years old in a 1990 interview with the Orlando Sentinel. When conditions in the Atlantic Oceans are right for the formation of hurricanes, the heat generated by well-placed nuclear explosions could trigger several smaller hurricanes rather than waiting for nature to build a large one. Perhaps these things could be done. Unless we know what we're doing, it would be like performing surgery without knowledge of anatomy. So
right, sure, but let me ask you this: what does Penn say?
Penn?
Yeah,
of Penn and Teller.
Yeah, I mean, well, we heard from Teller.
What does Penn
right?
Jillette have to say about this? Yeah.
What does
He
Penn
says
say?
Hurricanes are bullshit. Bullshit.
So there are several problems with the nuke the hurricane idea, as you can probably
I
understand.
can't. What? You're shitting me.
And the first of them is we don't really have a bomb to do much to them. So a big ass hurricane can release 50 terawatts of heat energy at any given moment, which is a significantly greater output than the entire power system, comparable to a 10 megaton nuclear bomb detonating pretty much every 20 minutes nonstop. Trying to stop a hurricane with a nuke would be about as effective as trying to stop a speeding Buick with a feather. One scientist wrote.
Hold that feather out. Hey, you know what? Maybe it'll happen.
I guess even worse, theoretically, might even add energy to the storm. Second, if they focused only on smaller tropical depressions to try and prevent hurricanes, there's no way to tell which depressions will become hurricanes. So it'd be like shooting in the dark with nukes.
Right.
And finally, whether the bomb would have a minor positive effect, a negative effect, or none at all on the storm's convection cycle, one thing is sure. It would, as you guys brought up, create a fucking radioactive hurricane. Which would be even worse than a normal hurricane.
A slow moving or possibly fast moving giant rolling storm filled with radioactive
From the creators of Sharknado
It's like a
comes
Roland Emmerich movie.
Nuclear Hurricane.
Hurranuke. The fallout would ride the trade winds to land, arguably a worse outcome than a landfalling hurricane. Today, international law prohibits us from even trying this. The Peaceful Nuclear Explosions Treaty, signed and ratified by the United States in 1990, limits the yields of weapons for non-military purposes to 150 kilotons.
Communism.
So yeah, there won't be any of this. This won't be happening. You don't fight Mother Nature with
Can't
nukes.
even give it a try.
Yeah.
You could at least give it the old college try, right?
There's not even, but if you just heard what Paul said, there's not even a chance it would work.
Oh, pish posh. For every scientist that says it won't work, I'm sure you could find some crackpot that says it will. Come on.
So
Okay, with their crackpot.
another potential solution that doesn't involve nuking the entire Gulf Coast, which, whatever, maybe for the best, honestly.
Yeah,
Comes from Norway. So there's a company called Ocean Therm. Its CEO, Olav Hollingsæter. A hurricane's swath of destruction could be slowed or even avoided using a technique called a bubble curtain. So this video here is a field test of the idea. The idea involves having a thin, long, flexible pipe that stretches between two ships, submerged about 100 feet from the surface. So it's like a giant aquarium bubbler. So since hurricanes get their energy from warm water at the surface, Hollingsæter claimed that the upward current of bubbles could push cooler water from down deeper up to the surface, which would take away the hurricane's energy. Hollingsæter said that hurricanes won't be able to build such strength. If we can avoid the rising temperature of the water, they all disappear when they come into colder water. So we want to look at and see what it looks like.
This sounds
Okay, so
plausible.
a nuke, nothing, some lame tubes. Somehow, look at it.
Yeah, the hurricane's gonna fucking be shitting its pants, bro.
Okay, yeah.
No
look at
way
this
a
some
hurricane-
scientific nonsense here. Oh,
Hurricane's like looking at that like, oh, no, I can't even form strength
Look
now.
how shaky the
look,
camera is,
dude. They're taking the fucking temperature of the water, and you can see with the thermal camera there, the water is chilled significantly. So with a long enough one of these, you guys don't think it might work? They put it out in
Paul,
front
you're
of
telling me like a
tropical
nuke
depression?
can't work? A nuke can't work, but this crap can? Yeah, there's no way.
Well, I
I
mean,
don't
the
believe
whole
it.
thing that creates the hurricane is the hot water, right? So you put a bunch of cold water on the surface.
Nah, man, that's a bunch of nonsense.
Ain't
That's
gonna work.
communism, Paul. You're a damn communist.
Communism.
Maybe so. So the bubble curtain idea has really only worked in the reverse, bringing warmer water up to the surface ice to melt it. So it's already
And that's
been
even
used.
worse.
Well, no,
even
that's
fucking
what
worse.
that's what it's used for now.
Oh, okay. I
The
gotcha.
problem is the bubble curtain would have to stretch at least 135 miles between Cuba and Mexico to cover the Yucatan Channel, which is a choke point for a lot of the hurricanes that develop and hit the United States. This is all very U.S. centric, by the way. We don't care if it utterly destroys the Caribbean as long as our bubble curtain saves
That
us.
ain't our fucking problem, bro.
I mean, that's Havana's problem.
Are we here to
That's-
protect the fucking Caribbean?
No, it's not our problem.
Leave that to the pirates.
We're worried about, not only the pirates, America. America is the country we're worried about. If it's going to hit this country, we need to fix it. If it's not, if Mexico, whatever, Mexico gets hit, they get destroyed.
Mexico can build their own bubble bullshit if they need to.
Yeah. So, this would be really expensive. It would be a nightmare logistically. It would require smoothing over our relationship with Cuba, which, I've given up on. Like, I don't know about you guys, but everybody keeps saying that we're finally going to normalize relations with Cuba. And then all of a sudden they're the fucking devil again. So
they're the Antichrist once more.
I think they're just tired of trying, to be honest with you. They're just probably like, whatever, we don't like you either. Further, water temperature is only a factor in the formation of hurricanes. The bubble curtain would do nothing to control the winds and currents that also contribute to them. The major downside of this is that cooling the oceans in the Atlantic may raise temperatures in the Pacific and potentially create hurricanes that could threaten California.
That might be funny.
Wait a minute.
That might be pretty. That's actually okay. So you sold me on the idea.
Don't do it, yokels.
That sounds pretty funny.
California will mobilize our fucking state National Guard and destroy your stupid little bubble curtain and send the hurricanes back to you.
You
the Madeira hurricane.
You're the hurricane dupes, okay? We out west, we don't deal with that shit. Okay?
Hurricane making landfall.
We build the bubble shield. The hurricane,
in Fresno, California.
The hurricane starts barreling towards their land. They're like, we're prepared for the hurricane here in California. And then the earthquake, the big one, starts at the same time. Earthquake, hurricane, hurricane. Boom. Another classic.
President's like,
another
fire the
idea.
nukes. All the nukes get launched. Becomes radioactive.
Yeah, radioactive, nuclear, hurricane, earthquake in California, targeting Madeira. Whole thing is fucking laid to waste. Whole fucking state, honestly, just boom.
Man, you guys are just fucking fantasizing about what's probably going to happen in like 3 days from now where you're at in real life, dude.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully just after I leave. So
yeah, hopefully. So this last one that we're going to cover about hurricanes is probably the most insane. It's basically like the little old lady who swallowed a fly level insane.
Okay, gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like the absurdity is ponderous.
She swallowed a spider to catch the fly. I don't know why.
She ends up swallowing a goddamn horse. Let's just put it that way. To
that point.
So according to new research published in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, if we pumped sulfate gases into our planet's upper atmosphere, we could cool down our oceans enough to cut the number of Katrina force hurricanes in half over the next 50 years.
Yeah, problem solved.
This idea comes from looking at the cooling effects of giant volcanic eruptions like Krakatoa, with all the sulfur dioxide blocking solar radiation. To cool the Earth's ocean on a larger scale, it would require about 10 billion tons of sulfates to get the job done, which is tens or hundreds of times the sulfates a typical volcanic eruption forms. Pumping 10 billion tons, which is the weight of about 100,000 aircraft carriers, by the way, of sulfate into the atmosphere every year would cost about $10 billion a year, which is relatively cheap when compared with the expenses of cutting back greenhouse gases. John Moore, lead author of the paper, told Popular Mechanics.
Okay.
So this sounds like all in all, it sounds pretty straightforward.
Cool it down.
Right?
Yeah, cool down the oceans. Sounds good. I'm sure there's no unintended side effects at
cool
all, right?
Cool the planet.
We just pump sulfates into the atmosphere, oceans cool down, fewer hurricanes, blah, 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 right? But there's there's one minor problem. One tiny
caveat.
There's a little issue.
Let's see if it's worth it.
Pumping
now, cool down the oceans.
Okay.
It's weighing pretty heavily on the scale, yeah.
Pumping that much sulfate into the atmosphere would poke holes in the ozone layer. The ozone is critical because it protects us from deadly radiation from the sun. Without the ozone in place, all of the radiation would bounce off of the Earth, damaging the DNA of plants, animals, and humans. The intensity of the sun's radiation would make photosynthesis impossible for all but the largest and slowest growing flora. And even these holdouts, primarily massive, gigantic trees, would eventually die too. Without plants, the food chain would collapse. Not exactly a great trade-off for half the amount of hurricanes every year.
Well, it looked good on paper. I don't know how to tell you.
Yeah.
It looked to the first part of the paper. When it got to the second
but
part
look,
of the
it would
paper,
take a
did
while
start
for all
to
that
look
shit to take effect, right? So I mean, at least have a couple.
Yes.
Yeah,
Maybe it
that sounds
would.
good.
I don't know how long it would. But yeah, no. Terrible idea though. Not a great idea. Obviously, you don't want to. So
Fuck yeah.
I like this one because it has lasers in it.
Well, I should say that this whole episode was basically kind of like
You watched Geostorm.
I watched Geostorm. Okay, I did it. I watched Geostorm and I made an episode because Geostorm made me think.
Okay.
Which it makes me very sad that Geostorm made me think. But whatever, it did. Let's move on from hurricanes. Let's talk about drought. So let's move on from your problems and let's move on to mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about forcing it to rain with some space lasers?
Okay.
The
Sounds
logic
good.
behind this idea is that the laser could mimic the static electricity that's produced within clouds to make lightning, which later would cause the water droplets to stick together enough to form clouds and fall as rain. The problem is that laser beams are short, so their use is limited. Researchers were only able to increase the length of the laser beam from 10 inches to 7 feet. So theoretically possible to continue extending it endlessly, but not proven. Still, development of this technology was supported by $7.5 million 5-year grant from the U.S. Department of Defense. So this is actually not just a Geostorm lulz fest. This is something we actually spent money trying to do.
But not much. Like 7.5 million for the Department of Defense is like.
I mean, that's a
I'll
lot.
throw a nickel.
It's a
I'll
lot of
toss a
money,
nickel
but
at it.
on the grand scale, it's not that much.
Yeah, I mean, like when you consider some of the money we spent on some other fucking defense projects, that's like throwing a nickel at the problem, basically.
The last mention of this anywhere is in 2014, so it seems like no progress has been made in those 5 years. There's another problem. What if the laser doesn't function as intended and only creates a lightning storm without rain? That would just contribute to wildfires in drought-stricken areas. So, that would kind of suck.
That seems like exactly what would happen, too.
Yeah. What if forcing clouds to rain in one area deprived another area of rain? That would just move the droughts around, not end them. So it's like, all the moisture that congeals, if we force it, it has to come from somewhere, right? The surrounding area. So you make it rain in this little geographic area, but it makes everything around it drier.
I'm seeing this fucking trend of like human beings being like, our civilization has upset the delicate balance of nature. What can we do? I know. Let's further upset the delicate balance of nature, but more in our favor. It's like, it just seems like no matter what you're going to be doing with this fucking climate shit, it's just like, ooh, we'll get balanced sometime. We're going to figure this out. Oops. It's getting worse.
Well, it's humanity looking for some sort of technological
There's got to be
solution.
some kind of fucking solution to this shit.
Dude, there's got to be a technology that lets us keep exploring the planet and not have to change anything. It's got to be there somewhere.
Where is it? It's got to be some fucking place.
I mean, maybe it does exist, but
it's going to be
it's a
long, hard road. I can tell you that.
So granted, there is one way to force precipitation that has seen some measure of success, and that is traditional Native American rain dancing. No, just kidding. It's
what? I was like, wait a minute.
No, it's cloud seeding.
Okay.
So in 1946, Vincent Schaefer, a General Electric chemist, discovered that dry ice, which is supercooled solid carbon dioxide, could be used to create an artificial cloud full of tiny little ice crystals. Further experimentation led to seeding the clouds with dry ice, silver iodide, or other chemicals dropped from an airplane to catalyze precipitation. So though cloud seeding has not fulfilled all its promise, it is used to generate powder for ski areas and rainfall in the UAE, where up to 15% of annual precipitation is made this way. For the past 40 years, Vail resorts have employed cloud seeding tactics to increase snowfall. The effectiveness varies greatly, even when it's done correctly, averaging around 10% increase all the way up to 25%. And in some treatments, 0%. So cloud seeding is still more of an art than a science, according to Stanford University ecologist Rob Jackson. So
there's some general principles there that seem to work, but they're not exactly clear on what conditions need to be in place for it to actually work.
But sometimes you can get some snow.
Yeah,
Right.
sometimes you
Well,
get some, or rain. Like 15% of the rain in the United Arab Emirates is from cloud seeding. So there you go.
So yeah, I mean, obviously there's some
Just like,
efficacy there.
3 inches a year.
Yeah, I mean,
Probably not much. Yeah.
I doubt it's
I would-
much.
So what
Yeah,
about
United
stopping
Arab
hail? You guys ever been through a big ass nasty hailstorm?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I've seen some hail here and there.
Icy hail can ruin a year's worth of crops within minutes of a storm's arrival, cause millions of dollars of property damage, can even be deadly. Some pieces of hail can weigh over a pound each. Largest ever found was 17 inches in circumference. And one hailstorm in Iowa injured 47 people. Another in South Carolina killed 8. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's big chunks of ice dropping out of the sky. I mean, it can
That can
definitely
fuck
fuck your
you
shit up.
Oh, look, it does the fucking like trucks and cars and shit, dude.
Oh, yeah.
It fucks them up. Like I've seen so many times vehicles just totally like probably like $5,000 or $10,000 worth of damage just from hail.
I mean, it's basically just like a baseball being dropped out of an airplane at certain points.
Yeah,
You know
it's
what I
like,
mean?
ow, that's gonna hurt.
Pow.
It's not gonna feel good.
So U.S. patent number 5,445,321 promises a solution to hail. This is a cannon that fires shock waves up into the thunderclouds to prevent hailstones from forming. So I guess the idea is that it's going to fart loud enough at the cloud to like break up the hailstones, you know? Such shock
Makes
waves
sense.
would come in explosive mixture of combustible gas and air in the cannon's combustion chamber. Like many weather control ideas, a big problem comes from making the effect work over a large area. Obviously, this little trumpet is not going to break up hailstones. Even if it does, it'll do it like in a 3-inch diameter or some shit. You know?
Yeah, the area. Like
So everybody
yeah,
stand in this 10-foot radius.
Maybe this could be a solution for like if you want to like prevent it from landing on your house, you could buy this dumb shit. Maybe that would work. I don't know.
Maybe.
I just don't see this working under any circumstance. I feel like even if there was a chunk of ice hanging over this and you did it as loud and powerful as you could, it wouldn't even fucking do anything. So I don't know. This seems totally ineffectual.
I don't know, TJ. The anti-hail
Maybe.
cannon patent envisions firing the cannon about every 5 or 10 seconds for several minutes to prevent hail over a small area less than a third of a mile. Quite a large cost for not much benefit, but whatever.
Well, I mean, look,
But you'd be protected in that
once
small
again, the
third of a mile.
the hail cannon envisions. Yeah, it can envision whatever it wants, but I don't think this thing would work. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
Yeah,
I would be
that's-
fucking. I mean,
it's because you lack vision.
I'm going
TJ.
on gut instinct more than any sort of actual scientific understanding. So.
I hope one day that a hail fart blaster cannon saves your life from a giant hail geostorm.
Me too.
TJ.
I sure do.
Looks like a vineyard here, TJ.
Yeah,
All
look
those
at that,
grapes
dude.
protected.
Being defended by the hail cannon, dude.
They're
was
farting.
wrong.
They
Yeah,
fart
look at
away the
that.
hail cannon. You can't have
Good.
them tender, soft-fleshed wine grapes being fucked up by hail. Fire up the hail fart cannon.
Defend us with your farts.
So furthermore, here's kind of a big problem. Hail cannons may actually cause drought.
Oops.
A Volkswagen plant in Puebla, Mexico, incurred the wrath of nearby farmers who say that firing hail cannons, which, as I said, blast shockwaves into the sky to theoretically prevent hail from forming, the automaker is causing a drought. It was reported that farmers believe that the cannons have prevented any precipitation from falling for months during the rainy season. The farmers sought $3.7 million in compensation for at least 5,000 acres of affected drought crops. When the cannons are fired, the sky literally clears and it just doesn't rain. Gerardo Perez, a farmer leading protest, told a news outlet.
I don't
You know this
buy
farmer
it.
would be crying about then, Paul? Oh, the hail destroyed my crops. Oh, the hail destroyed my house. Volkswagen was protecting these farmers, and this is the thanks they get.
I don't think this thing does either of those. I don't think it fucking stops hail. I don't think it stops rain. I'm pretty sure it
Tell
doesn't
that
do
to
a goddamn
Volkswagen
thing.
because they seem to believe it does. They fire them off all the time. They're sending poor Mexican farmers into a drought.
Whoa, I like this. What is
So,
this?
What about?
I support whatever this is because it looks cool.
So this is something that's theorized to maybe prevent the ice caps from further melting.
All right, let's do it. Sounds good.
So
I'm down.
One proposed solution is blankets, basically, like a lot of blankets.
Cool.
The idea is to prevent further melting by wrapping glaciers in reflective covering of uniquely designed white polypropylene blankets. The sheets absorb heat, prevent it from reaching the ice below, keeping the ice intact. So Dr. Jason Box, a glaciologist from Ohio State University, is the brains behind this project. They're actually using it. So this method has been used in the Alps to preserve ski hills during the summer and on some smaller glaciers. One test run used 31 giant rolls covering 10,000 square meters. The problem is that glaciers cover 10% of the Earth's surface, or a little under 20 million square miles. It would be quite impractical to cover that much land mass with a blanket.
This seems to be the problem with a lot of these ideas. Is
impractical.
It's really hard to fucking find a solution that you can affect all of the Earth's weather with.
Yeah.
Even if you can figure out something to maybe control one element of the weather in a particular location, it's very hard to extrapolate that globally.
Yeah. Here's another one that I didn't even think of until I reached it. There's plenty of wildlife that live on glaciers. Elk,
right?
Bison, reindeer, wolverines, blah, blah, blah. So what are they going to hunt and forage for if there's a giant blanket over everything? So perhaps it's better than losing their home entirely, but transporting and laying out such a volume of thick blanket sounds like a gargantuan and expensive undertaking. Still, you can't blame them for trying. Even in the Paris Climate Accord was implemented to the letter, one scientist estimated that only a maximum of 30% of glaciers could be saved by 2100. And that's like if everybody follows
maximum.
To the maximum.
Which we're not at all.
So we're definitely not at the point that is posited in the movie Geostorm. In that movie, we destroy the climate so bad that these storms go so out of control, we have to make this implausible satellite net to laser and nuke the hurricanes away and whatnot. But what do you guys think? Like, are there any of these ideas that I presented that you think might be worth trying on a wide scale, despite their problems?
I mean, it seems
give a glacier a blanket, dude. I want to see a glacier all snug as a bug, wrapped up in a blanket.
Yeah,
it seems like there might be something to the whole like salting the clouds or whatever the fuck thing.
Well, that's
maybe
already
study that.
Seeding the clouds, I guess.
Yeah.
That looks like it had some potential and shit, but pretty much everything else sounds like it would be ridiculous to even attempt.
It sounds like the minimal gain and just maximal environmental destruction and damage.
Yeah.
Human meddling we're best not to meddle. We don't really understand the weather system fully, clearly. And even if we did, I don't think we have the technological means to control the weather in a way that's not going to be more destructive than the consequences from hurricanes or drought or whatever. And more than likely, we'd probably end up exacerbating the problem as opposed to fixing it. So I wouldn't advocate for us meddling with the weather any further.
Yeah, I mean, I would think if anything, you'd have to figure out probably the most viable means. And I don't know I feel like there are people trying to do stuff like this. It's just like figure out some way to pull carbon back out of the atmosphere.
Yeah, but once again, it runs into the same problems that we talked about here.
Sure,
the scale
I'm sure
of
you
that
have unintended
is obscene,
carbon
right?
capture.
Right, absolutely.
So do you guys think at this point the scientific community should shift its focus away from like what it's doing now, which is trying to prevent climate change, and maybe shift its focus towards like surviving and mitigating it?
I think that it's like if I'm playing roulette and I'm spinning the wheel to see the fate of the Earth, I'm definitely going to be putting money. I'm definitely going to be hedging my bets in both places. Like prevention, less and less resources because we failed. Now it's like mitigation. I would say mitigation is probably the better place to pour resources at this point, sadly.
I tend to agree with you. I mean, the whole fucking plant a tree for your tomorrow shit just didn't work, guys. Nobody listened. Recycle Captain Planet shit. Like I grew up watching that shit. It didn't help. You know what I mean? It didn't change me or nobody else. So I think it might be time for us to start talking about surviving what's coming, in any way possible.
So this weather controlling technology, I mean, looks like I didn't see a lot of promise in the stuff covered here. Maybe there's some other stuff that might have more promise. I don't know.
I mean, dude, you should watch this There's this documentary I watched yesterday called Geostorm that will blow your mind, bro.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. We're gonna build this big satellite network. We're gonna compass the entire Earth, and we're just gonna control that shit.
You're right.
No
That's
problem.
what I got
Until
for
some
you,
terrorists take it over or whatever the fuck the plot is. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I got for you. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Big Fat Pride.